Right, good afternoon. Today we're taking a look at the Ender-3 S1 Pro. And I think it could be quite interesting actually. It's been quite a while since I've taken a look at an Ender-3. I think the last one was the CR6 SE, which I did on the Kickstarter. Yeah, that went well, didn't it? So yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few things that are different since I've last taken a good look at an Ender-3. I still have in my mind like what the original kind of looked like and was. I don't have one anymore. I have Ender-3 V2 and I have the CR6 SE. I think those are my two remaining Creality printers. So I can grab those or go look at them if I need to. But today we're taking a look at the S1 Pro, and also they sent me, oh that's a filament, and this is, yeah, they sent me this as well. It's the laser module, so we'll take a look at that at some point as well. So yes, good afternoon to anyone and everyone watching. Hello. So yeah, and Creality sent me this printer for purposes of doing this video thing. I didn't pay for it, but they, you know, they have just sent me the printer. That's all. Also, this is now available on my shop for pre-order for doing threaded inserts, so you can go grab that. I've not put the zip ties on this one, but I kind of set it up to be just right now. So it has this really nice, slow kind of, returning motion. It's so smooth. So yeah, that's available for pre-order. The link's in the description if you want to go grab one of those. Obviously, if you're watching this in the future, it may no longer be on pre-order. You know, that's how pre-orders work. But the link should still be the same, so you can go grab one either way. Good afternoon, Derek. People trickling in a bit slow today. I don't think I sent as many notifications. I only scheduled this like half an hour ago or something, so it was not particularly planned, but I was like, I fancy doing something, let's do a live stream. So I grabbed this from the other room, and now we can get to take a look at it. I'm just going to start. That's the filament. Hey from France. Hey to France. Hello all of France. Ooh, I wonder if this is going to work. That'll be a no then. Top camera doesn't work, so we might have to improvise with this one today. Like so. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We've got some different people. Lars is not new. Good afternoon. So I've not really taken a look at this. I was going to do a photo of like the inside of the box, but I decided not to. So I don't have much idea of what's included. This is a small materials guide to give you some printing suggestions, whether to use an enclosure or not, how to do some leveling. Is that a future switch wire? So this has quite a few differences in specs, I think, to what the last Creality printer was that I took a look at. So it's like a direct drive, I think all metal hot end. It's got all touch screen, lights, and all sorts. So I do want to, I'm actually like seriously interested on whether this is going to be an interesting machine. And with the laser module as well, like, so it'd be easy to install and all this kind of stuff. Cool, yeah, it's been a while since I've done a printer that's not Core XY. Vorons, rat rigs, V0, 2.4, all Core XY. Oh, we got a piece of, well, it's like half, it's a partial, it's not going to be great filament that. We got a bag of what looks like some tools. We'll take a closer look at those in a second. In here, there's a lot of packaging here. That's a clip for a thing. We've got a spatula that looks exactly the same as the ones I've used from years ago. We've got what looks like the extruder module. This actually looks quite nice. We'll take a closer look at that in a minute. So that's got the touch probe on the side, it's got fan on the front, obviously stepper motor here, the extruder module and some lever-y thing, and it looks like a ribbon cable. This looks like a filament sensor dangling off the side. Again, we'll take a closer look as we get more involved. This looks like the touchscreen. This feels like there's still bits in it. That's blooming heavy. Oh, it's got all I think that's got all bearings and stuff in it. That's like a separate rotating sleeve. This is like pretty premium for Creality, especially for the Ender series, which was always the super cheap line. This one comes in around £450 to £500 kind of thing. So it's not your basic cheapest model anymore, which is why for me it was kind of interesting to see what they'd gone with. So this is the gantry assembly. So we've got a dual Z-axis. That's the first time I've seen that on an Ender-3 with a belt connecting the top. Still V-slot wheels, but they've got a custom extrusion, I think. Yeah, it's like a flat fronted, it looks a bit cleaner. This is a different extrusion. I've got a nice light bar across the top, which you can't really see much. Once we get it all out of the box, we'll be able to see a little bit closer what's going on. This whole bed assembly in the box. So, single-sided sheet. It looks like that classic, well, certainly what's labelled as powder-coated PEI. I don't know how one would check that that material is actually PEI, but that's certainly what it's sold as, so on that basis I'm inclined to say that that is what it is, although that's not always true. This is the whole base module. It looks like it's all one big fat assembly. And then we've got a power cable, a very short power cable. It is a UK one, which is nice. And that's the box. I don't think there's anything else useful in that. Right. I mean, even just having a handle on the front, is that kind of good? Is it useful? It's certainly different. It's trying something different. That alone is interesting, I think. Very much all-in-one kind of design, all enclosed. It does look a bit more professional than your standard Ender-3, like if you were buying them for a print farm or something. But first we're going to start tearing things apart and looking at the insides of things, because that's where the interesting stuff is. Let's check the... This is a bit of a weird angle, isn't it? Okay, hopefully that's all right. So it's obviously a removable screen. Got a cable which attaches at the top there. Let's start taking stuff apart. Where's my screwdriver? So these are zinc plated screws as well, which is nice. Better than stainless steel purely because they're magnetic. Well, they're not like better, but they're my preference for 3D printers. So this is the whole LCD module. Very carefully take this sticker off. I think I put it right onto the processor. Not sure there's much label on there. It says F1C100S. It's not a logo I recognise particularly. It's got a buzzer. They've used some horrible putty here to keep that ribbon connector in, which is not ideal. There is a SD card here. I don't know if that's accessible from the outside of the case, is it? I don't think it is. No, so presumably that's for doing a firmware update or something if they release one, or if that's a thing. Just a small micro SD card down there. Not very much in the terms of labeling or version numbers or anything on this, which is weird. Okay, that's that. I don't think there's much to learn from that. Oh, they've actually used threaded inserts in the screen though, so that's pretty good. And they got, is that? No, that's plastic. But at least there is something to protect the screen below. And it is nice and easy to disassemble as well, which is, hang on, that's not right. Nope, I'll get it eventually, there we go. We'll see as we power it on what the actual interface is like. Hopefully pretty reasonable. I'm just going to go grab an electric screwdriver, back in a second. Oh. I actually have my review of, or comparison of electric screwdrivers coming out this week, so that's quite interesting. I think it'll be worth a watch. That's the screen. Now, this extrudery doodly. Now, I want to be a bit careful taking it apart because we don't want to make a mess of things. But this is huge, like, it looks like a cast piece of aluminium or something. It's insane. So we've got this touch sensor on the side, which is basically like a BL Touch, I would guess, but maybe a little different. Their own design. They've got the big whopping fan at the front at an angle. Thermistor and heater connector is really dodgily connected with glue. That thermistor is going to be a pain. If you end up with a big plastic monster, getting or fixing that's going to be an absolute nightmare. That's not super impressive. Even the connectors right down here, you could quite easily have a whole plastic rod that destroys the whole thing. Just got to hope that doesn't happen. I do want to see if it's all metal. I can't see any 3D printed parts on here. This duct is plastic, but it's not printed. It's all like, it's pretty heavy. I don't like it when they use multiple different types of screws for one assembly. So that's the touch probe, quite easily just disconnects there. It doesn't look like, given the connector they've used, that this is a CAN bus controller or anything. It's just going to be there. I don't think so. This connector is not easy to remove from there. There we go. So this is a custom stepper motor because this bracket is just drilled into the holes in the side of the stepper motor. It's a bit interesting. Again, this is another plastic part that goes here. I think this is just a guide for the ribbon cable. This kind of small entry here. Oh, this is the stepper motor cable, this very small one down here. So that's how that connects. I think this might be a case of the, we've got to find some spare screws at the end. There's lots of little screws in all sorts of different places for this assembly. And this is a very long screw. Oh, blimey. That was not what I was expecting. It's dirty on the end for some reason. Oh, I thought that was metallic. Why did I think that was metallic? It felt heavier. It's not. It's injection molded plastic. But there's a whole load of fan dust, so it's definitely been run for quite a while, this printer already. At least the fan has. So this is, so you got this fan here, which is for this one's for part cooling, and then you've got this really small fan that was under this cover in here, and this just goes through to this heatsink underneath, and that looks like it's going to cool. That's basically the cold end that comes across here. That's a bit of an interesting design. So fan 1 is the tiny one, fan 2 is the big one. So that little fan is a 24 volt brushless DC by HXRR. 3010 fan. Wow, this is a dense assembly. So I think we're sort of getting to the point where we've actually dug out the extruder itself. I can't believe they've put bloody glue over these connectors. I'm going to end up breaking the bloody thermistor before I even try the printer. How can we maybe try and get some of this goopy glue off? The whole connector housing is broken. That's not very good. So that's your kind of hot end PCB. There's nothing on it really. It's just a breakout board from this big pin header here. So it looks like they've used multiple pins for some of the power connections, which seems okay initially. The big downside you have with that is if one of those pins fails, or the connection on one of the pins fails, or the wire halfway down breaks on one of them, then you end up putting all the current through one of the connectors, which then obviously is then a real problem. So not necessarily the best solution, that. And this is kind of what the actual extruder looks like. This is how the designers would have seen it before it got smothered in other stuff. You've got this lever which is quite strongly tensioned. So again, I don't know if we want to take apart the hot end, just because I don't know. They might have some weird assembly strategy for that. Although like the preheating or how far to screw stuff in, all this kind of rubbish. So we'll see what we can do. Right, so this looks like the actual hot end. This looks like the part where it actually is all metal. Let me see if I can. Where's the thing? Yeah, I'd say this is all metal. So but what the actual F? Yeah, so this is going to be your whole cold side up here. So your PTFE, or the extruder, transitions to hot end down here. At this point, this is still cold end, and then the actual thermal transition happens in the normal place as you'd expect. So there is a nice thin heat break in there, supported by 2 screws, one on either side. Hopefully you can see that. It does seem a little bit complicated, doesn't it? Which is odd, because you know that they're trying to do everything very cost efficiently. So there must be something cost efficient about this assembly. This extruder looks really nicely made. I don't know what this screw is here. I think it's going to be tension. It's not obvious. So let's take it apart and see what's inside. Probably some massive spring, because the tension feels quite high. hum. Ah, I knew this would be interesting. Okay, okay. Okay, they have put some lubrication on those gears, and I don't want to clean that off. So let's try and give you a decent close-up of this. Unless you've seen a good review, you probably won't have seen this yet. So this is what the gears look like, and that gear profile is very different to what you've seen before. Don't worry too much that it looks a little bit cocked, as in one, it looks like this shaft is not straight. It's just because it's not supported and there's some spring tension on it still. But that gear profile is flat. It's not like rounded around the filament like you often see. It's flat straight across, which is different. What if I hold something up dark behind it? Is that going to help? No, not really. So yeah, it's quite an intricate little design. Completely non-standard wiring for the motor, which is a bit weird. And it is a completely non-standard motor as well, so if you need a replacement, Creality is the only place you're going to be able to get one that works with everything else that's on this printer. Well, it's going to need the right connector, the right plug, the right mounting holes. It's not your normal motor. I think this is quite interesting. It's a bit different. They have some fairly large gears, but it's quite compressed. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting. We don't know whether it's good, but it is interesting. And that's a start, I suppose. Question is, can I get it in without a spring shooting me in the face? At this point it looks like maybe not. Is that going to work? And then you can see on this side how the effort they've put into try and get TPU compatibility, for example, because they've got these like very pointed parts to try and prevent any gaps between the two gears. This is plastic. Now I'm pretty sure this is I can't remember what you call the process. It's like injection molding for aluminium, die cast, that's the one. Yeah, it's peculiar. I mean, there's clearly some effort gone into doing it. find out if it's paid off. Do you mean like internally? Can't really tell. It looks like, so this tube in the top here, this little one here, is very sharp and stainless steel. And then from here downwards up to this point, this is a PTFE section. And then obviously you got the all metal section for the remainder. Oh, and the PTFE's just fallen out. Now we have to try and get this back in here. How are we going to do that then, eh? Bloody hell. Okay, so that has to go that way in. I think if it goes this way in, alright, it can go either way, that's fine. It just takes a lot of compression of the screw to get it to go in. Compression of the spring, rather. There we go, that's now flush. Now we should be able to get this back on the top. So you have to push the extruder lever to take the load off, and then it goes on. And then we have to try and remember what screws go in where and try and put the whole thing back together. Undoubtedly the most difficult part. It's kind of weird that there's going to be no real indication of where your spring tension is. So screwing in is actually putting more tension, I think, and then out. Yeah, so in is more tension, out is less tension, or clockwise is more tension. Nah, I'll get this together in minutes. Maybe. I remember some of what I did. That's the important thing. Any idea what was next? Oh dear God. So that has to go before that, that has to go before that, that has to go on here. That can go on now, I think. have to do that super long screw at some point. You might be able to just rewind. I cannot easily rewind. Where was this long screw going through? So the PCB was alright on this face here, but obviously with this on first, so this is going here. And this was on here. And this was the really long screw. Before we do that, we got this one to go on here, so is this one of these? Nope, so this has to be this. Yeah, we're basically there already. Just seem to be missing some screws. Or is this not screwed in? Where did the other screw? With it? What? Did this PCB not have other screws? Maybe it didn't. Fan 1 I think was the little one, right? And this was the motor. These are for this fan, those for this. Oh, that's what this is here. You lot underestimate me. I'm not sure what this connector's for, because oh, maybe that's for the other. No, I don't know. There's a spare connector. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pin. Oh, that's for the probe. Of course, it's not spare. Dipstick. Put that in there. That is just. I'm not like that's not great, is it? It is quite solid though. There shouldn't be too much deflection or whatnot in it, so that's, I guess, a good thing. I know that's a good thing, not a guess. It's not a guess. Ooh. Oh, you think it's going to not work when I start printing. Well, we'll never know if it worked before now, will we? Because I just went ahead and just disassembled it before we even printed. So here we go. That's in there. Tuck that under there. Bibbidi bobbidi boom. Oopsie daisy. The last thing is to assemble this on the front. Apart from it's not the last thing, is it? Because one of the other screws has to go on the other side before this. So I did one thing wrong. This metal shielding around the fan, I guess, is as an attempt to protect it against the heat of the bed and that kind of thing. Basically a heat shield. It's also the mount, and it looks kind of cool, but primarily I think a heat shield. Or maybe it was primarily a mount, and this was the cheapest way to mount, and then it just happens to look like a heat shield. Also possible. Okey-dokey. Right, that's the second thing. Now let's take a look at the filament sensor. I don't think this is going to be anything particularly impressive at all, but we are going to take a look anyway. I guess it's just going to be like a limit switch with a little lever on it and a little roller. That's typically how they've been before. I'm not sure why there's a weird peely sticker. Oh, it's not supposed to be peelied. That's a permanent sticker. Okay, sure. It's not a... Nope. There's nothing holding this together. Unless they've put like clips. What have they done? It's time for the spudger. Where's the spudger? Why? Why are you no open? Jesus, what on earth have they got in here? I feel like they've glued it shut. That's like the weirdest warranty void sticker. There's no screws underneath it, but it does not want to come apart. Well, that's somewhat exploded. What a ridiculous assembly. Oh, that caught me in the eye as well. Bastard. Ah, that hurt. Did anybody see if anything went somewhere else? Because I couldn't, because my eyes were shut. My reactions were not fast enough to catch that. It's got me right in the eye. So we've got a Hall effect sensor. And then this weird roller, which presumably is rotating about something in here. On a pin thing. Is it on that? Oh no, it's not a Hall effect. It's not even sensor motion. So I'm going to break me before the burst print at this rate. Getting shards of plastic in my eye. What a fucking terrible design, excuse my French. So this is like this. So the filament comes in one side, obviously like pushes this to one side, and then breaks that sensor there. So this is just going to be like a opto sensor. So all the time that it's broken, it says, oh, there's no filament, and then as soon as there is filament, it's not broken. I'm guessing it's the spring that's caught me in the eye. And it's gone. Like, I've no idea. This is not going to work without the spring. There's a tiny little spring that goes in the back here. I don't think I did break the plastic, you know. The only thing that shot me in the eye was the spring. So thanks for that one, Creality. The spring-loaded death trap. Just having a quick look on the ground to see if I can see where this spring went after hitting me in the eyeball. There doesn't seem to be anything obvious. Oh no, I found it. Oh, here's the bastard. Excuse my French. So this is the spring. Oops, it is it. It's only a very light spring. That goes in here. Oh. I'll be back in a second. Just gonna check my eye. Won't be too long. What's the... Right, let's carry on. I think the problem with the sensor is that the plastic part that's supposed to trigger will, even in the best circumstances, by the looks of it, only just break that sensor. If it's assembled slightly wrong, it just might not clear it or might not break it when it's meant to. But that box, the box is a bloody death trap. Right. Now, this can go back on here. Now let's take a look in here. Hopefully they've not booby-trapped this as well. I'll take the print surface off. So, firstly on the front, we have, looks like full-size SD card. Just give it a quick check, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Ooh, really stiff for some reason, but that, it's not just the wrong way out. Oh yeah, why does it, what? That's weird. Okay, I think that's obviously the right way to use it. And then we've got a USB-C. I don't know why there's a USB-C. Presumably for the firmware stuff, printer connection. We have a drawer with nothing in it. We do have tools. So in our tools we have a needle, a acupuncture type needle. We have the infamous blue side cutters. Oh my god, these are horrible. They're like dirty and grubby and... there's also a nozzle, some Allen keys and a plastic screwdriver, and then the screws for assembly. I don't know if this drawer is going to be a good drawer or a terrible drawer, so I'll leave this stuff outside of it for now. We'll probably bring this back up again, so we can look down upon the electronics. Hopefully no booby traps in here, no springs that are going to stab me in the eyeballs. So this is a metallic bottom plate. Sounds like steel to me. Nothing to grab onto. Yeah, that's still, oh, it's connected to a fan, of course it is. whole bunch of goopy goops. So this is the drawer area. So that's actually reasonable. You shouldn't lose too much out of the drawer if it's upside down. There's some like notches at the back that knock it in. The cable tie clip doesn't seem to be doing much. So, what's the board? It's a Creality CR4N S200 141C13. Is that really the best? Is that still... They've got earth directly to the motherboard. What the hell's going on here? There's all load of like damage to the board. To me it looks like whoever assembled this printer missed with this screw and scratched it all along the side of the PCB. Yeah, they've gone in like this with their assembly screwdriver. You see it down in here. So they've gone in like this and gone, and there's the hole. Obviously not literally with the screwdriver, but with the thing on the end, and gone, and there it is. So it's all marred up over there. It's weird that they've got chassis earth to here. It's a bit of a strange one. And it's also, they've earthed so that, oh, what the dickens? So they got, right, okay. So power connector on the back, that's sensible. The connectors are reasonably well done-ish. The wires look a little bit overstressed, but other than that, not too bad. The switch is only turning on and off one of the connections. What is that? That's live going through fuse. Yeah, so it's not even switching. Oh no, they've not used standard, oh maybe it's US standard, isn't it, black and red. So it is switching just the live. It should be switching both, but it isn't. We've got a connector over here. This is just like a pass-through connector. There's obviously some connections on the other side. I'm not sure exactly what for. Where did I get this screw from? Oh yeah, this earth connection over here. So that earth then runs along the back here to this power supply. Again, reasonably well done. It's got this big ferrite core on the wiring. I'm not exactly sure why. It all looks like it's a bit... It all just looks a bit damaged. It doesn't look... Not like... I don't know. It's really overstrained and stressed. They've got space here to have a bit of extra wire length, and they've just not bothered to use it. They've gone for the very bare minimum and just squished the wires in. You can see the ferrite cores are like hacked. It doesn't really fit there, but they've squished it in. So that's that. Power supply is just branded as Creality. I'm going to assume it's like a WeHo rebrand unit. Be nice to take a closer look though, so see if we can do that. Let's get this earth screw back in before I forget about it. Can't believe they're connecting earth for the chassis through the control board. Why? Right, how do we get in here? I'll get to that in a second. So those screws are loose, and I think this is just going to come out. Nope. Is it screwed in from the top as well? Oh, this, I'm going to put some blooming safety glasses on before I shoot something else in my eye. This looks like another spring-loaded booby trap. Oh, there is another screw. There we go. Yeah, there's no branding on the bottom. So, I mean, it shares the form factor with like the LRS 200 power supplies. This is labelled CMS 350, so 350 watt, 24 volt power supply, but we don't really know who's made it, other than that it says Creality on. But it's probably WeHo or Meanwell. We just don't know which one. We just know that this wiring is ridiculously short. The whole chassis stuff in this area is all plastic, so the whole housing is plastic. There is some extrusion in the same sort of H shape that you would expect from older Ender-3. What the hell is going on with it? Why is this like this? This is just ridiculous. The principle of the wiring is not too bad. Like, they've tried to manage it. It's just not gone very well, because the wires are too short. And they're stuck in a random ferrite core for some reason. I think that's an afterthought, which is why it doesn't fit. Does your board end in 301F1 or 301F4? Let's go and look at that, shall we? So, as we get towards the control board, this is the ribbon cable that looks like it's going to be driving most things. Power cables that come into the PCB look like they're all well done. Let's just check. Nicely crimped. Is that soldered? Have they bloody soldered it? I'm not sure if they have or not. Let's see if we can check from another one. No, I think it's just crimped. So, crimped ferrules for power, that's nice. the gauge, I can't tell exactly, but it looks appropriate. Bed, soft silicone wires, I think these are, so nice and flexible for that bed motion. Random plastic. This is bed thermistor. So what we got, CPU wise. STM32F401. They're doing short circuit protection. Find a ground in a hot end too. There's no ground in the hot end. There's just, well, there's a ground and there's a positive. Is there an earth? I mean, nothing indicates earth, but so they got, that's the chassis fan, XY stepper motors on a ribbon cable, and then everything else on that ribbon cable. Got this stuff over here, which is presumably for the Z motors. There's quite a lot of spare pins and stuff going on here. All random glue. Half this glue doesn't even touch anything. Let's put that other power supply screw back in. So these connectors on the top are for filament detector, an expansion interface of some variety. Oh, that's just completely shredded that. Brilliant. My suspicion is that this screw is not actually really long enough. So that's just not gonna, just doesn't work anymore, that. Got belt tension. Bloody hell, the world's biggest end stop switches. There's an earth coming up towards the bed. There's a ground earth. I'm not exactly sure what the implementation is, but I suppose I can't fault the idea. I guess overall not too bad. Like, this bit of damage in this wiring is a bit not great, and this is obviously supposed to be holding to something, probably here. Otherwise, not too bad. Where's the metal plate gone? Here it is. So we've got to plug in, make sure we plug in that fan again, otherwise something might overheat. Oh, that was weird. Okay, I guess we should probably build the printer now. Ow. Comes a time in every printer's life when it actually has to be built. Okay, let's put these tools in the drawer of misery. I want to say thanks for the content you make. It's been wonderful for a newbie like me, and your big print video is absolutely hilarious. Thank you very much. A very welcome $5 donation. So we got a few sets of screws. Shouldn't be too difficult, this assembly process. Especially if this is the first time using Creality, oh no thanks. Once you've opened the page, you'll find a memory card. Connect the memory card to the computer to obtain manual products, videos and other relevant information. There was no memory card in the toolkit, was there? Did anyone else see that? Stickers. No memory card. Step 1 is list of the main parts. Step 2 is where the assembly actually starts. It's very tempting. It's very easy to try and use that LED as a handle. Install the nozzle module and wire clamp. Okay, that's for that bracket there. I feel like we're going to need a bit more space. That's the nice thing about that belt, is you can adjust that quite easily. These V-slot wheels are all a bit wibbly wobbly. So nothing is this side here. Didn't you slot a micro SD? I put an SD card in that slot, but that was one of mine that I already have. It was not one that was included. Yeah, I don't think there is one in mine. Well, judging by the dirty fan, it feels like someone's been here first. Okay, also install this. So I don't know what this does. Oh, I think this is a ribbon cable holder. Oh, this would have been better to do first. This goes on here somehow. Install the gantry. There's still no good process for this, is there? everyone still uses the same process and it's still as terrible as it's always been. Oh, maybe they did test it first. Well, they probably should have remembered to put the SD card back in the machine. Right. Too small. I have to get a different driver for this one. 3 is not big enough, is it? No. 8, 6, 2.5, 5. Where's the one screwdriver that I actually need? Aha, right at the back. 4 mil hex. I don't have to send it back, but they may have, I don't know, it's weird. It may be like a refurb unit or something, but I can't believe they'd even do that, to be honest. What's the next thing say? I think this is just a spare screw. They seem to be giving one extra screw for each of the steps. Install the screen. Again, 4 screws, and I think we need 3. That's going on here, and this is going on here. Is that a mains power cable running to the bed? No. It's a 24 volt bed, not a mains powered bed. But it does have an earth connection, but it's not a mains powered bed because there's no SSR. At least. Shit, I actually don't know. That's a good question because it was black, red and earth, so maybe. But I don't think they'd have a 350 watt power supply if that was the case. Why does this need 3 screws? Oh, because it's wobbly as hell. Where does it go? Well, why is this not going in? No, that's just not going in. Nope. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, eh? It's still going to be plenty strong enough to hold this tiny little screen. Well, it's actually got a big screen to be honest, but weight-wise, it's not significant. So, can we check? Is there any labels on the bed? It says 270 watts, 24 volts. Yeah, it's not a mains powered bed. They just got an earth cable going to it. Wiring. Oh no, install the rack. Nice rack. So you've got this rack. I do want to actually, let's have a quick look, because I'm pretty sure there's some bearings in here. Yay! Some Z6000, no, 6000Z battery. Some quite big bearings. One in each end. So you have this rotary effect on the top. And then this connects under here. Which way round? This way on here. Like so. Oh yeah, of course, because the filament comes down the front. I'm used to, and then we've got the wire for the filament sensor there. We've got these wires down the back, so we've got the Z motor here, and we've got these 2 wires here. We have one for LED, which I'm guessing is expansion interface, one for filament detector. Connector smaller, so it can only go there. On the other side, we have this huge bundle of tape and a single Z motor wire. And then we've got this big bundle of stuff. So obviously this is going into here for there. That's going in here. Fix the flexible flat cable FFC on the clamp of the Z-axis by the specific marking on the sleeving. Wants it to be precisely there. Yes, sir. Then around the front, we've got this can open up to here. Connect that in here. That on there. Doesn't look too shabby, actually. Good evening. I feel like we're on to the evening audience now. We're on to more people than I've seen a lot before. Yep, direct drive extruder. They've got the whole custom extruder. We disassembled the whole thing at the start. It is very different. Well, very different, maybe is an exaggeration, but it is significantly different to Creality's, Ender-3s. I mean, considering that Ender-3 is supposed to be their cheapest lineup, and this is like £500, for me it's like just them moving away from let's just build the cheapest shit we can. Like, they've cost optimized it. They try to make a better machine at a low cost price point, but that's kind of just what it's all about. But the fact that it's not just stupid cheap is quite nice. So that's the rack and wiring. Z motor wire, filament detection wire, LED, filament, leveling. Please refer to the attached electronic instructions for specific leveling steps. Well, there are no leveling attached instructions, rather, because there's no SD card in the package. Have an extra double check. Nothing. This is my doohickey. That's just screws. Paper guide. Nothing on the floor. That's that. We've got print surface. Spring steel. PEI. Looks pretty decent. And warranty cards and random stickers. Some leveling tape. The bin's empty, apart from the side cutters I threw in it because they were disgusting. Nope, definitely not in here. I'm not sure how much I trust this power cable. It's very, very short. It might not be long enough. We'll do a quick earth continuity test. Yep. Okay, the earth is connected, so hopefully we'll be safe enough. Barely long enough to get from the floor to the desk. Right, plugged in. Let's go for powering on. I like this. The ability to move motors without taking ages to do it. Power switch, it's over here. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, that was the probe. I thought it was a weird noise. I mean, it was a weird noise. Quite a nice LED glow. I mean, what am I going to put? I can't believe it's not got Have they not got an SD card in it? Oh. Mine seems to be incomplete. Oh, let's do a quick, by the way, everyone, the thing what I designed is available for pre-order. So if you're going to do like threaded inserts, it's a threaded insert heat press tool. I've used it quite a lot on streams if you've seen it before. So it's like got a bunch of 3D printed parts. There'll be black on the, if you want the printed parts from the shop. In fact, I had 2 colours available, didn't I? So yeah, available for pre-order. It just holds a soldering iron. You can have different grips for different soldering irons. It's a genuine STM32 by the looks of it. I mean, it says STM32 on it. So obviously I can't, like, I'm not demoing it fully now because it's not even plugged in. But if you're wanting to do threaded inserts, in my opinion, this be the best way to do them. So you can get like full hardware kits, excluding soldering iron. You can get all the printed parts if you want that as well. And it can come with soldering iron tips and some extra threaded inserts with that as well. So you get all the bits you need to get up and running. Available now. So, settings, level. It was pretty quiet, so I'm guessing it's probably 2225s or something, the stepper drivers. Oh my goodness. That was the stutteriest movement I've ever seen. Oh, all the whole thing's all wibbly wobbly all over the shop. I think the belt's probably, yeah. Unfortunately, there was nothing about doing this in the guide, which is a bit unfortunate, but you do need to set your V-slot wheels to be appropriately tight, which normally means rotating them that's about right. Oh, this one's in a stupid place. Yeah, so get some belt tension on as well. That's a bit better. That's a bit much. Oh, home doesn't home. Okay, we'll do this again. Oh, these ones. The bed wheels are okay. The bed wobbles because it's just spring mounted, obviously. Auto level, start. Well, this is going to take a while, isn't it? It's nice that it flashes red when it triggers, and that they don't retract and detract. What's the opposite of retract? Extrude, but it's not when it's a solid pin. You know, it's not coming in and out. They just leave it out and keep probing, which is good. I mean, this bed's going to be all over the place because it didn't do another home. It is an Ender, but it's an expensive Ender, bear in mind. So we also have some filament from them. Comes with a spool of filament. Is that a cardboard spool? Holy bananas. It's also been opened, and I don't think I did that. CRPLA matte. That actually looks quite nice. Well, that's a nice surprise. I was expecting it to be some cheap, nasty white colour. But that... Oh, that's a matte blue on a cardboard spool. Holy bananas. That's a pleasant surprise, isn't it? It's like really well wound as well. It's not like a just total carnage mess. It looks like some actually decent filament. I kind of wish I still had an OG Ender-3 just so I could compare them. What's it doing? Auxiliary level. I think we should probably do the auxiliary leveling first, shouldn't we? This is going to be bananas because we've just done a mesh. Why would you... No, I disagree. Corners first and then the middle. It's kind of weird having mesh leveling and manual leveling. Oh wait, oh wait, oh wait. It is a Gates belt as well, I've just noticed. You know what this feels like? This feels like Creality making a Prusa. Like, doesn't it? It's like, this is what Creality think a Prusa Mark III should be. That's the feeling I'm getting. No, it's miles away. Let's do this again. The thing is, I don't know if those like movements incorporated that auto mesh leveling, in which case it's gonna, I don't know. Such confuse. So the Creality PLA, no enclosure needed, no dry box needed, retraction of 0.8, heat bed 60, nozzle temperature 200, fan speed 100%, printing at 50 millimeters per second. It's pretty slow, but. Cost is way less. This is like £450 to £500. I think the normal cost is £500. I don't know what it is dollars wise or euros. You can probably just currency convert. I imagine it's reasonably close. Or look up Creality. Did I put a description? I can't remember if I put a purchase link in the description. So far I'm feeling quite optimistic about this printer. It's quite quiet, which is nice. This leveling process is a little bit slow, but if it's accurate and it works, then that's fine. You're going to go home now, hopefully. Do you know that it is Marlin? Why is it like just rammed itself into the bed? Why would you do that? Oh, that's what this is for. Oh, you can't really see the screen because of reflections. How about that? So we can do the same kind of normal motion. Oh, that's disable motors. I know that's disable motors, yeah. XY. You can manually input positions at the top here. Extrude. Manual temperatures. This is way better than the interfaces I remember seeing before. Print 4 things to print. There's nothing on here. That's a bit weird. This is painful to watch. It's like he's never used a 3D printer before. Can't be genuine confusion. What are you on about? I've got leveling. Oh no, don't start. Language PLA settings. So just like the preheat settings, advanced settings, movement, transmission ratios. X, Y steps, that's nice. Max acceleration settings, corner settings, speed settings, restore, about. Model Ender-3 S1 Pro, firmware version 2.0.8, 15F4, screen version UI 20, hardware version CR-FDM version 2.5 S1_1, print size 220 by 220 by 270. Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to try out I've downloaded Cura Cura version 5, which doesn't have a profile specifically for this printer, unfortunately. It's just the Ender-3 profile, which is going to be pretty slow. So we're not going to be having a very big print because it'll take forever. Where's the thing that I'm looking for? So yeah, there's no, I went and had a look, there's no preset in here for anything other than standard Ender-3 on the Ender side. So we'll use the standard profile. Now I also need to print a thing, and I need to find a model that I can actually use. I guess Benchy is the normal. I don't know if I have one available. Gonna have to go download Benchy. I might need to make my own small calibration object, because obviously Califlower is great for doing like skew correction and all this kind of stuff, but it does take a little while to print and measure and everything, so it's not great for quick live stream things. Download, single part, STL, download. Just getting Benchy downloaded, we'll be there in a second. Oh, please don't crash, computer. Oh no, oh no. It's fully downloaded, but it's also crashed at the same time. Have we managed it? I think we've managed it. Generic MyPLA. Do we have the Creality set? PLA? I don't know what the settings are. I don't know how to use Cura. I normally use Prusa, but I don't. Do they have a? Ooh, spoilers. I can't remember if they have some Creality printers in Prusa Slicer now. other vendors. Creality. Ender-3, Ender-3 V2, Ender-3 S1. It's in alpha, but that's good enough for me, because I know how to use this much better. Right. Let's do it here. Do we have the Creality PLA? We do. Where's it gone? Don't look at those other things that you saw. Don't worry about that. Ender-3 S1 with Creality PLA. 0.2 normal. Super draft. Let's do some super draft. That sounds fun. 205, other layers 200. That sounds appropriate. I don't think it's... It seems to be blind to my SD card. Oh no, here we go. 3 benchy. Eject. Stick that in there. Oh, it's not very secure, that. So, home, print. I'm not sure what this home is supposed to be about. Well, maybe that's going to show status, is it? Start and stop does nothing. Oh, is that just, that's loaded the file and then we... It's not got any preset temps, so it's not doing anything. What are you doing, printer? Oh, filament. Of course. I'm actually going to use this Creality PLA because it doesn't look half bad. Ah, but the filament sensor is on the wrong side. Or I've installed the thing on the wrong side. Hang on a minute. Does this go... this can go on the other side. The spool's a little bit spinny. Contrary to what you might think, putting bearings in a spool holder is actually not that great an idea. I know you can't really see the screen, but it is now loaded the print and the temperatures are set for preheating, and we have the Z offset and everything in there. Ooh, is that this side fan? It's a bit of a noisy bastard, that one, isn't it? That's the hot end fan. Very small fans. Very small fans at very high speeds are extra noisy. Naming the main menu home is just confusing. It is. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like it's not wrong, but it just feels then like it was designed by somebody that's not used 3D printers. Like for us, home has a very specific meaning, right? We know what it means when it's saying home. Anything home related to the printer is checking end stop. Yeah, so it has been checked with something. There's some tiny bit of black filament, I think, just come through. Or it just burns up in the nozzle. Yeah, that's all blue. So can you tappy with this? Yes, so it's a pressure screen, resistive touchscreen, not a capacitive touchscreen. They're not socketed drivers. I think they are TMC. They're pretty quiet. The noise levels are certainly not concerning, put it that way. We've not got any excessive noise from the power supply yet either, which is quite often a source of some pretty loud noises. That first layer is looking reasonably delicious. Yeah. Actually quite surprised. As long as it doesn't set on fire while it's printing, then we're looking pretty good. The thing is, I mean, I said it earlier, it feels like Creality's answer to the Prusa Mark III. But how old is a Prusa Mark III now? Like, that printer is not a new printer. Obviously they've done their like Mark 3S, Mark 3S Plus, but in my mind it's still a Prusa Mark III. James, why do you keep saying you can't compare it to the OG Ender? Comparisons are always okay. It's a comparison. The whole point is to compare two things that are different. The original one is different, and therefore you can compare them. You compare their age, you compare their control boards, you compare their structure. You could compare this to a Voron 2.4. You could compare it to a Ratrig VCore 3. It's a comparison. What type is the V-Wheels? Yes? It is looking like it's slightly over extruded. There doesn't seem to be a setting for the extrusions. Oh, here we go. Print Oh, print speed, hot bed temperature, fan control, Z-axis compensation. There's not one for flow. No. Creality, come on. That's been in, or is it? I mean, I don't know who's responsible for this, but there really should be a flow adjustment in there. Maybe we could do adjust the. Can you get to it? It might not be. I guess when you're comparing two things, you want to understand the buyer's point of view and all this kind of stuff. But to say you can't compare them, I think it's just there's different levels of what you can learn from comparing those two things. And if they're so vastly different that you have a large list of differences in your comparison, but it's still valid to compare them. Oh no, they are normal Delrin. They're exactly what you'd expect for V-slot wheels. It is a very slow print, this. This is going to take a while. An hour and 20 minutes, considering... I mean, I don't know if I'm going to sit here for an hour and 20 minutes. I might order a pizza and come back. Let's talk about threaded inserts in the meantime. This thing just looks... Originally I was only going to do it in black, but I quite like the mystic brown. The kind of... Because it's a really dark filament, but you get a really nice colour, like, in the light. In the bright light. Such a freaking awesome tool. Boo 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 doo. And it's so easy to calibrate now because the weights are really easily adjustable. You set your V-slot wheels. I did all the like assembly instructions today as well, so there'll be full written instructions for this. Yeah, it's so easy to adjust the calibration weight. I got the cable dangling on the floor. But it's, I mean, you could maybe put in like one more washer. You get such a nice little glide. You're like, ooh. So satisfying. And we've got this nice little handle on the top which we didn't have before, and there's little zip tie clips in it, so if you wanted to have that on there as well, you can. I think it'd be pretty good. Eclipse 3D added clipper, polycarbonate wheels, nylon bed spacers, and input shaper and pressure advance on their Ender-3 S1 Pro. It's very decent, but you need to go over all the bolts and ensure what should be tightened ease. Maybe try and go a little bit faster. I don't know what the flow rate of the hot end or anything is capable of. I think, I don't know, I don't want to say too much about opinions on the printer before I've reviewed it, but my first impressions are, I would say, more optimistic than I have seen on a 3D printer for a while, like from like the off-the-shelf ones like this one. Yeah, daybreak LEDs. Oh yeah, don't forget LEDs as well. So I've added, I've got this nice baffle design now. This is, I mean, it's specifically designed for Voron. There'll be a rat rig one coming very soon. They're actually the plan, secret plan, rat rig LEDs. Anyway, so yeah, I've got these nice baffles now. You can't really see from this angle, obviously, because I've not got them wide up. But the idea is you get a really nice light that just goes towards, like into the printer and not out the side. So when you look into your printer, there's not like this huge glary light coming out the front, because the baffles mean that you don't get a really wide angle. It just narrows all the light forwards. So yeah, we've got the normal white ones like this one, and then we've got RGB ones. These ones are all marked because some of them obviously fail, because I test every single one before they go out the door to make sure that everybody gets one that actually works, because occasionally they don't. So yeah, we've got the full RGB ones. One day we'll get RGBW, but at the moment it's not available. So you just can't get them made properly at the moment. I think it's just a supply issue. Do people use any sort of Loctite on the bolts? Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time building rat rig and Voron printers, people use Loctite. So what we tend to use a lot is this stuff. So this is Loctite 248, and it comes in a stick, so you can just sort of, you get your screw and you like roll it through the top of the stick, and that puts Loctite on your screw. It smells a bit funky, but I quite like the smell. And that'll then hold your screws pretty tight. Another option, if you never want to undo it ever again, is red Loctite, but this is like the permanent stuff. I don't know if I have any, oh, this is a liquid actually as well, isn't it? You can get the blue Loctite as a liquid as well. That can be easy depending on application, but the stick goes a very long way. Oh, by the way, for the upcoming stuff, there's some new things coming for Vector 3D in terms of like product-wise. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter. I've got like a newsletter sign up on the website. In fact, maybe I'll just share the link. Because that way I can let you know directly instead of like, because it takes a while often to make videos and stuff like that. Whereas to do a newsletter announcement, I can do a bit quicker. So if you want to know when stuff's coming, newsletter is a pretty good way for you to be informed. I did send out an email blast today through that because I wanted to make sure that everyone that was signed up was deliberately signed up, and then hopefully in the next week or so, maybe in the next few days, we can start announcing and sharing other things. There's so much. There's so much. So many exciting things coming. If you're in the UK, you'll be even more excited. Just makes me sad that UK is not part of Europe anymore, because it just massively narrows down my accessible market of people that can get stuff easily from me. But there you go, this is the world we live in. Question is, how is this print doing? Oh, it looks quite nice. It does look quite nice. We have to remember as well, this is pretty fat layers. It's 0.28mm layers. So that does tend to hide more refined extrusion issues. I always used to print 0.3 layers, and I might go back to it because I think it looks better. I miss no customs fees from EU. Oh man, you wouldn't imagine how many people miss no customs fees for stuff from the UK. It goes both ways. Everyone's just like, yeah, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? Anyway, this is not political. Let's get away from that. Let's focus on the print. Oh, while this is printing, we can take a look in this box. So let me move this to the side a bit. Hopefully I can get both of these in the shot so you can, there we go. You can keep an eye on that. So Creality also sent me this, which I believe also goes with this printer. So this is the CV laser module. Oh, this looks like felt as like demo pieces. Some card, some paper, and some other coloured card. CV laser module user manual. Yeah, so basically where I screwed this extruder into this assembly via the screws on this side, you just take that out and plug this in instead, I think. So I'm not going to be assembling this today. We've got some magnets. I think presumably those stick down here, and then you can use those to hold the paper down to the print surface. So this looks like a filter material and the mounting plate. It's got some actual safety glasses. Well, they're green glasses. I presume the green is the right instructions on the SD card. Yeah, instructions on the non-existent SD card. They're labelled as ANSI Z87.1 and EN166. Can confirm they're very green. We've got a wire to wire it up and a laser module. Yeah, there's a dodgy little film in there. So that's going to be presumably their attempt at filtering the air. I mean, it's a pretty poor excuse for an air filter. But basically when you're pointing the laser at things and you do the burny, it makes the smoky. So this is like a, I guess like a charcoal activated carbon filter thing. And the idea is the fan pulls the air through the filter and holds the carbon. CV laser module. Input voltage 24 volts, optical power 1.6 watts. So the idea is you have this, and that will get you your thing in the right place. And you've got a small JST connecting this to connect it up. I think by the looks of it, looking at the connectors down there, the auxiliary one, instead of the LED up here, oh, this is stonking hot. Instead of the LED, you'll have this, so you just plug this in instead. I wouldn't say it's a quick swap. It's not going to be a quick job to reassemble the printer. In fact, I don't know. This doesn't look as easy to assemble as I... Oh no, yeah, there's this bracket, isn't there? So there's this. Is that what that's for? Let's read the instructions. At least it comes with some safety glasses. It's not an enclosure, and it should have an enclosure. But at least they're sort of trying, as opposed to the Atom Stack thing where they didn't even give a shit. Take the Ender-3 S1 as an example. Remove the hot end kit. Make sure that before removing the hot end kit, you should firstly take off the print material from the nozzle. Disconnect the power and allow it to cool. Loosen the 4 screws. Assemble this, so this plate goes onto there. That plate assembles to the back panel there, that way up. Probably that way up. And then this goes on here. That goes on there, and then you kind of push this up from the bottom on here, and it's actually not that. This goes in from the side, I think. And that holds that in place, and there's a second one on the other side. Oh, try not to have this box in the way there, Adam, you doofus. So that would hold that onto that plate, and that's wobbly as hell. That's not particularly impressive, is it? No, I've got all that way, and then the plate's blooming wobbly. No matter how tight you do that, I think it's going to stay pretty wobbly. Well, you might be able to get it into a place where it doesn't wobble. I don't think it's going to be moving particularly fast, so it shouldn't be too bad. So install the laser module. One side of the laser module cable plugs into the machine's expansion port. Firmware update, motherboard firmware, SD card screen firmware, software installation, software introduction. Open the Creality print software, click on the navigation. Make sure current status set to laser, click on a picture. Again, this is probably something we can do another time. We do have a little foray into the laser world. Pass the directly engraved. If you need to pause during engraving, please select pause. When engraving or cutting thin objects, e.g. paper, the laser may penetrate the object and leave marks. It is recommended to put a flat object which the laser cannot penetrate, such as aluminium or stainless steel plates, before you put the engraving material. So this bed plate is just stainless steel on the other side. So that's probably a good surface just to flip it over. And that can be your laser-based surface if that's what you want to do. But do be aware that will cause probably some reflections and other issues. As I said, I'm happy they've included glasses, but I would still prefer that you all use an enclosure, because you can forget things like glasses and stuff like that. seems obvious, it seems silly to say, oh, you just don't forget, but it only takes one time, and then you'll really regret it. Am I happy with the printer yet? Well, I'm going to be honest, it's a first impressions, like, this is not a review. I'm never going to say after one print that it's an amazing printer. But it has performed reasonably well. It's a bit of a shame that they lost the SD card on my behalf. But there you go, can't win them all, can you? I mean, it's pretty slow, but I'm getting really hungry as well. 5 to 6. What else can we talk about? Got a new scraper. I can go in the drawer of scraper spatula doobly tools that may never be used. Or, yeah. I think I'll probably keep this printer, to be honest. It does seem quite reasonable. Like, it's not fast, is it? The hot end and whatnot is probably not that great. But maybe, you know, good contender for like a Hamira Revo or something. I mean, it's pretty adequate as it is. It does need more testing, obviously. This is just PLA that we're testing here. They say it works with ABS and TPU. I mean, it's never going to be big ABS prints because it's not enclosed, but there is I don't think the TPU claim is that unreasonable considering how constrained the filament path looked. Anyone got questions about stuff and things? I've also made on my website a short page for resellers. I'm just going to share links about my website. Yay! I'm doing things. So if you're in US or also in the UK, same as me, we have a couple of US resellers at the moment. Trying to work on more resellers because I know, well, as we've already discussed, issues. Yeah, I think it would be very beneficial for people to have EU direct access. This is like the alpha stage profile as well. So I presume the printing profiles will improve over time too. I don't know what the difference is between this S1 and the S1 Pro. I mean, mine is the S1 Pro and the S1. Because this profile was for the S1. Is it just the same printer? So the S1 also has this extruder and hot end combination. It also has CR Touch. It also has the dual axis. It also has the spring steel. It has the spool holder and the filament sensor and the 32-bit control board, the low noise. It doesn't have a touchscreen, so you get the touchscreen if you change from the standard version to the Pro version. The S1 also has the LED light, and it also can fit the laser engraver. It also has, they both have the knob type belt tensioners. So PC, polycarbonate spring steel magnetic build plate on the S1. With the S1 Pro you get the PEI. With the S1 Plus it goes back to PC. Heated bed temperature apparently can go up to 110 Celsius. So the S1 is 260, so not all metal hot end by the looks of it. And there's more languages available with the Pro version too. So very similar apart from print surface and hot end. Those are two quite important things. Yeah, so 110 on the bed and 300 on the hot end because it's an all metal on this version. But is it a good hot end? This is, excuse me. This is still important and not just based on whether it's all metal or not. What I do like is that the fan points backwards, so when you're looking down at it, you don't get a face full of printing fumes. The price difference is quite a lot, actually. So it's $400 for the S1 and about $480 for the Pro. And then $550 for the S1 Plus. It does seem weird though, doesn't it? Like, they bother because they can, and they know that there's still a market for the slightly cheaper option. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having more options, but I suppose the argument is, why make a printer which we know is not as good as this one, but looks the same? Like, it starts to feel like could be misleading. I think they're obviously appealing to a mass market, and people wouldn't necessarily know the difference, and they'll be after the $80 price difference, and they go for a different option. The LED bar should be on the S1 as well, according to this, which is the Creality.com product website. Oh no, maybe it doesn't. I thought further down it does. It says LED light, but it doesn't have it. The image at the top doesn't have it, but you scroll further down and there's a picture that shows that there's a light and it says LED light. I'll be honest, I quite like the fact that there's a light, but I dislike the fact that there doesn't seem to be a way to actually control it, does there? I'd like to have an on-off switch for the light. I think that's lacking. It'd be nice maybe if it was even on here. this gets incredibly hot. I wonder if we can check what temperature that is. You do have to be careful when running LEDs. I'm guessing they're just running them without any PWM control. They're just hooking them straight into the voltage or something. Because they cannot go to infinite temperature. If you run them over their operating temperature, they significantly decreases their lifetime. This is not going to be perfect because it's going to be a bit reflective, but oh, it's not as bad as I thought. Maybe 50 Celsius, that should be fine. I mean, it's a bit of a shiny surface, so it might not be reading particularly well, but oh, we're still only like halfway. I'm getting more and more hungry by the second. What else has anyone got questions about? What should we talk about? We've got quite a lot of time. It's literally just watching a 3D print now. This is the live stream. Yeah, my drive gears were tight, but I disassembled the entire thing as well at the start, so. What's most annoying about this printer is you can't modify it without a heck of a lot of work, or use other parts as replacements if something breaks. Because there's no 3D printed parts, and because firmware and stuff is a bit closed down, is it? I thought it was running Marlin, it should be open source, or Creality just decided not to bother. They should be. I mean, it's all very tightly integrated, isn't it? I guess that's the main thing. There's not like lots of extra connections on the control board. They've not put anything spare in or as options for upgrades, other than their pre-designated laser upgrade, for example. It's impossible to get a Raspberry Pi anywhere in the world, I think, pretty much. They've gone. They're barely around. Oh, by all accounts, they might actually be around. They're just all in the hands of businesses and, you know, OEMs and things. Hopefully the S1 Pro has Wi-Fi. It does not. Cura has a Moonraker plugin now. I didn't know. I don't really use Cura where would one acquire such a thing? Moonraker, upload and print with Clipper via Moonraker API. Oh man, this is painfully slow. The retraction settings are certainly not quite right, but I think that's going to come down to a profile thing rather than a capability thing. Yeah, so I'm just seeing all the Moonraker plugin in Kira. It's good that it's there. I don't understand why it's, well, I guess I do understand why it's not fully, like, properly supported and it's just a plugin. Or is it an official plugin? I don't know how Kira manages that sort of thing. Does the printer claim 150? I mean, I'm not using their profile. I didn't get the SD card, so I don't know. I'm just using the one that's on the Prusa website, on the through Prusa Slicer. I use Super Slicer most of the time. So all my Vorons and rat rigs, yeah, 2. I run all of those on Super Slicer, so that's what I use like most of the time. But I don't faff around in slicers very often. I don't find it particularly fun. And when I don't have to have like the very highest print quality or push the maximum speeds all of the time, I tend to just use the first thing that works is normally enough, because I don't have to, I'm not doing a production run of anything at the moment, so it doesn't need to be like speed optimized or anything like that. I think I'm going to order pizza for dinner today. I really fancy. Does anyone else just get craving pizza on a Sunday? It's not exactly a classic British Sunday roast thing, but I really fancy a pizza. Something not too extravagant with the toppings, just a nice pizza. Only on Sunday. I guess it's kind of random days, but Sunday is just like a pretty chill day to do it, I guess. Other days I'm in too much of a constant hectic panic to get work done. Even the idea of taking time to order food takes too long. Need to get... Well, if the business was more profitable, I'd love to have some people work for me. That would be so good. We could do so many things. It would be freaking awesome. But instead, it's just me working 24/7. How's printing with Obsidian going? I can't really talk about it, I'm afraid. Obviously, I can show you that I do have them. I've shared pictures and stuff of them. But I don't think I can share printing stuff, I'm afraid. I always used to enjoy making my own food. Like, I would spend a lot of time in the kitchen. But it's something I do less and less often. Well, I still like cook a lot, to be honest, but not very much for fun. How are we doing? Pop! 55%. 45 minutes to go. How is it still 45 minutes to go? Right, I'm just going to increase the speed because I cannot wait. Oh, try to do minus 15 speed. 150%. I do quite like this blue filament though, it's reasonably nice. Oh, I can... yeah, I can show you that. I'll show you some things that are coming up. It's not Creality things, but it's not really sponsored, so... There's one thing that I really want to show you, but I shouldn't, so I won't. But it's the most exciting thing. But that's what you need the newsletter for. So... this is one thing. So I'm working on a guide for this at the moment. So this is basically, so it's by Mellow and Team Gloomy. I don't know exactly what the relationship is. I believe Mellow basically do manufacture and Team Gloomy are design, but I don't know. So this is, I mean, it's not a Raspberry Pi. To be clear, it's not a Raspberry Pi. The chip is something else entirely. An all-winner Tech H5 quad-core with some Samsung memory. It's not a Raspberry Pi, but it basically does the things that a Raspberry Pi does. So I've got a guide coming soon of how to install Clipper and everything on this. And it's pretty reasonably priced compared to Raspberry Pis, and as long as they can keep them in supply, I think this is going to be a really popular piece of kit. So I won't be publishing a review. I've not really like stress test used it. I just wanted to get a guide on how to install Clipper to it, so people can actually get using it without any troubles, and then we'll find out how good it is or how durable it is later on. But it works. I know this much. So, yeah, this is the first thing. I'm really excited to actually like use it in a printer. That should be quite fun. And the guide is not too complicated, so reasonably easy to do. And I've made like a mount for it already, so that's pretty easy to deal with. So that's one thing coming up. The other thing is this absolutely huge, enormous box. So this is the, look at the blimmin' size of this thing. It's freaking huge. So this is the Manta M8P. It's absolutely huge. So this is where the either the Raspberry Pi compute module or the CB1. I think the CB1 is the Big Tree Tech version. But yeah, they're like just the amount of detailing and stuff they've put on the back of this board. So you've got your like your Raspberry Pi base connection stuff over here. Some pretty stylized designing, which is rare to see. We like stepper drivers. It's a shame that all of this just has to be on the back because there's like no space on this side. But it's pretty fancy looking. So I've been making like a test board printer. So it's like all the components of a printer, but just screwed down to a piece of wood. So I can like plug everything in and run it as a printer, but it doesn't print anything. It's not a printer. Because the downside of like testing things on printers is A, it takes ages to do all the wiring to like test something out. And once it's a printer, you just want to use it as a printer. So I've made something that's deliberately not a printer, so I can't print anything on it. The only thing it can do is accept different hardware for testing. And it's kind of set up with like a DIN rail, so I can just attach electronics. So the stepper motors and everything will just stay kind of bog standard. And those things will just come up. I'll just like put on whatever electronics I'm testing, like put clipper on them or whatever it is. Plug stuff in, see what works. Are the connectors like standard? Does it have all the connections we need? What's missing? What's not included? What's in the instructions and what isn't? And all those kinds of things. I'm getting a method to try and review control boards because there seems to be loads around at the moment. They're quite advanced. Big Tree Tech especially just keep releasing stuff again and again and again. So yeah, that's hopefully going to help me in generating some opinions on control boards and their implementation without having to spend 10 weeks making a printer. Have you got any printers lined up for these boards? As I said, not particularly. It doesn't even mean to say they won't end up in printers. I mean, it's quite probable they will at some point, but there's not their specific purpose at the moment. I have my eye on the CB1, all-winner H616, as the CM4 is hard to get. Yeah, of course, it's a Raspberry Pi. I do have the CB1, it's just over there. I have a couple actually. And the plan is, again, when I get this on my test bed set up, I can run it, do the installs, see what works, see what doesn't. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it, excuse me, is it easy to use? And all this kind of stuff. Do you have the Easy, SKR3 Easy? I don't. Julie, is that? Ah, no, I asked them about that. They didn't send me one. I think because they know I've done lots of Voron and Ratrig stuff, they just sent me the massivest one that they had. What camera did you use for your 2.4 RC2 build? Autofocus and quality? Oh, I never shared that link, did I? See if I can look through my AliExpress shop history and find it. Hopefully I can find it for you. So this is the link to the camera. That's actually an affiliate link as well, just so you know. I snuck that in there. Tested the CB1 would be very nice with a Raspberry Pi 5. Unfortunately, they've not sent me a Raspberry Pi 5. So, can only test what I've got, I'm afraid. But hopefully I'll get the CB1 and stuff done as soon as possible. I do want to... I know people are looking for things to replace Raspberry Pi, so I'm trying to get stuff for that. It looks so pro. Well, it might not look like super pro, but you compare this to what an Ender-3 looks like an original Ender-3. It's quite a lot different. Quite a vast improvement. And even, like, it's got a light, and it's got a filament sensor, and Creality actually have cardboard spools with matte blue filament. That looks pretty sweet. If I paid £500 for this, and this is what I received, I don't think I'd be upset with that. This feels really weird. I'm expecting to just shit on another product today. But it's actually not bad. It's actually... I don't know, I seem to quite like it. I think... mainly just because it kind of seems promising. I think it's got an air of optimism about it, as well as actually being reasonably good. Yes, £500, which is a lot for a Creality Ender-3, which it basically is. But it does have a probe. It has a direct drive extruder now. It should be capable of TPU, although I've not tested it. It has a light, it has a sensor, it has PEI, it has a flexible sheet, it has a touchscreen. The touchscreen interface is actually reasonably good. Like, I think they've done quite a lot of things. It has dual Z-axis. It has belt tensioners with the knobs. I mean, they've been around for a little while, but I don't know, as a package, it just seems actually quite good. I don't see why you want rails for a Creality printer. I don't think V-slot wheels are that bad. Bear in mind, rails will always make more noise. And unless you're going to absolutely churn out speeds and forget about noise, I don't think it's is necessarily worth it. Is the cable mesh on the left possible to rotate 90 degrees? Do you mean this? Is the cable mesh on the left possible to rotate 90 degrees? Oh, as in you want it around the back of the printer. Not really, because of all the wiring integrated into the motors just here. I mean, if you modified it, I'm sure you could do whatever you like. You could get it to go somewhere. But there's like feet and stuff under the bottom. I think it's very much designed to come out the side like this. How about the CAN bus stuff like EVB or Hermit? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to be able to make videos on, but it is only me. There's only so many weeks in the year and hours in the day. I'm prioritising Raspberry Pi things, replacements over CAN bus at the moment. CAN bus is still quite niche and quite premium. And Raspberry Pi I think is a little bit more widespread. Could do this with the cable, fold it around. If you really needed the space, I'm sure you could find a smart way to manage it. It's really not that big a deal. It's looking a bit stringy. I've just realised I didn't actually check the retraction settings against what they suggested. Printer, extruder, 0.8, and I think this said 2 or something ridiculous. Oh no, 0.8. Oh, I've just noticed those cameras are more expensive than they were before. They were 15 or 14 pounds when I bought them, and now they're nearly 20. Ooh, there's one with a massive lens on it. Ooh. Nope, must resist. Orange Pi 02. Is that comparable to a Pi Zero or to a normal Raspberry full-size version? From a whole random bunch of different sellers. There's one of them with 1600 sold, so that's presumably the actual. So it comes, by the looks of it, with a Wi-Fi, with an Ethernet, with 2 USBs and USB-C. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, gigabit Ethernet, micro SD quad-core processor. Does the standard Clipper image work on the Pi 02, or do you have to have a different one? I'm not so hot on all that kind of stuff. I think I would upset. An Ender-3 costs 170 euros, this one 530 euros. I don't know that direct drive and magnetic sheet, is this 250 euros more worth it? It might not be worth it for you, but I think original Ender-3s still don't come with silent drivers, so they're quite noisy. You have to deal with leveling, you have to deal with... I mean, yeah, the original Ender-3 was not that bad, right? But I mean, it's... that valuation judgment is always up to you, the user, not to me. I can tell you what I think is good and what I don't think is good, but whether it's worth it is always subjective. No, the printer's not turned on at the moment, I'm afraid. It's sitting on the floor. I've still barely used it, unfortunately. There's just stuff everywhere. I've not had a chance to plug it in. But the only time I've been using it is on live streams, which is very sad, and I need to use it more. I have big plans for it. I just have to wait a little bit more before I'm allowed to use those plans. %. We're at the roof, everyone. We've made it to the roof. Can't be that long to go. Let's just stare at it and hope it goes faster. What else has anyone done this weekend? Anything exciting? What are your 3D printer projects? What have you been working on? What you've been spending your hard-earned money by? What have you been buying, and why has it not been from my shop? Oh dear. Bully you into buying things. Oh, disgusting. So just doing the bridging over the roof section. It is still a little bit over extruded, I think, unfortunately. But I don't think I can, yeah, we checked this earlier, I can't change the extrusion ratio while printing. I adjusted the screw a bit, but I don't want to do it too much, it'll end up not gripping anything. Pre-ordered 10 Bamboo Labs X1, Jesus Christ. That's a lot of Bamboo Labs. That's a lot of bamboozers. Printed more my ABS optimized parts. Yeah, I did see there's a message on a channel at the moment that I need to maybe address that blooming X motor sensor thing. Still not quite in the right place, perhaps. This is not a very accessible part to adjust, is it? That's the annoying thing. I think what I have should be okay, because it doesn't... I've not tested it, but... Bamboozled. Is this for a little print farm of yours? It sounds like it, replacing 16 printers with 10 printers. That doesn't sound like a hobby level printing some random brackets. FJ's done a Slice Engineering Mosquito and BMG for the Ender-3 Max. Nice! That's an expensive little upgrade there, isn't it? Hopefully that's gone okay for you. Well, I think it still counts as a farm if you're not printing for anyone else, but maybe more of a patch, a vegetable patch. The 3D printing patch. It sounds more like a software thing, doesn't it? Oh no, farm is just like having lots of printers printing lots of things, really, and having them like in an organised format to produce lots of parts out of it. Generally lots of parts at the same time, but not as in lots of the same parts repeatedly. But I don't think that's necessarily always true. One of the joys of 3D printing is customising stuff, isn't it? Like, farm, I think, really just means some sort of arranged format of mass production using printers. Mass production? It's not mass production. You know what I mean. You must print quite a lot of stuff, though, to justify 10 bamboozles. No bamboozles for me, though, I'm afraid. Unless they send me one, but I've not been contacted thus far. Did anyone... Tom Filament Frenzy got one, didn't he? What are your thoughts on open front mods for the rat rig being objectively better than 3.1 plus enclosure? I've not seen what's available. Someone's mentioned to me previously. I did actually design my own entire rat rig VCore 3, which I've not done, and I don't know if I ever will. I basically modified all the parts to put the electronics on the back with like fewer extrusions and open the front and all this kind of stuff. And I imagine maybe somebody else, because I did share it and maybe someone just noticed that I hadn't actually done anything with it and just developed it themselves. Or they were thinking of doing it anyway. It's quite possible. It's quite an obvious thing. When you use the printer quite a bit, you just like this front extrusion is just in the way. Technically it would make the frame objectively more wobblier, especially on the 500 version, I imagine. But with some reasonable cross bracing, I don't think it should be a major problem, especially if you're using like input tuning and stuff and not pushing ridiculous acceleration anyway. I think it should be fine. A rat rig but enclosed like a trident. Yeah, I know what you mean. Which is kind of what it should have been from the start, really, shouldn't it? I think, unfortunately, rat rig did fall into a little bit of the trap of we'll design the printer first and then we'll design the enclosure afterwards. And the big downside of that is you end up with a not optimal enclosure, because you need the extrusions, which is the main frame, which is like the main part of the printer, to be different to accommodate inclusion of panels. Yeah, built a Voron. 0.1's are freaking wicked. I love it. It looks like this is nearly done. We're at the top. We're masting. Masting. The chimney. I'm yawning and hungry and would like to order myself a pizza. Yeah, the like layer change stuff, retraction settings are not ideal. It's definitely over extruding, and I think that is also not helping the YP business, the stringing. But overall, considering it's like an alpha test profile from Prusa, well, I don't know if it's from Prusa, but from Prusa Slicer. Whoop. Where's this going? What is it doing? It's just... How far is it going? It's not going to go all the way to the top, is it, surely? It's going. It's really going. And... Oh, now where's it going? Oh, is it done? I think it's happy. It's stopped. Well, it's well stuck down. Nice. I mean, I'm actually reasonably impressed. Let's give you a closer look. We'll do the classic top of the water bottle strategy because it gets it at the right height in front of the camera. And I can sort of spin it around at the same time. So there's obviously some stringing. You can't see the most of it from this direction. But I'm actually quite impressed with the quality. I mean, it was very slow, to be fair. It's easy to print very slow. I used 0.8 distance. I'm not sure what the retraction speed was. I'm just checking now. Retraction speed was only 30 instead of 40. But I mean, the first layer was pretty good as well, so that auto-tuned worked pretty well. That's really consistent. I mean, it's obviously a tiny little first layer, but I think the stringiness is ultimately down to over-extruding, and I couldn't adjust that while it was printing. So probably a combination of this slightly weird tension mechanism, maybe too tight. If you over-tension, you do over-extrude, so it's partly that. I didn't calibrate extrusion steps beforehand. So again, I think just over extrusion. So it's a bit stringy. I think that would be pretty easy to get rid of in a pretty short amount of time. Right. Boop. Well, that's cooled down very quick. So, took an hour and 15 minutes, I think, according to this. But there we go. I think that's going to be it now. We're all done and dusted. Yeah, we've done the print, we've done the building. We looked at the laser module, we're not installing it today. It's already been 3 and a bit hours. We're definitely done. So thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully it was useful to have a good first look through all the electronics, complete disassembly of the extruder and stuff as well. So plenty of details there for anyone looking to maybe get one of these. If there's not a link in the description now, I'll try and get one there soonish, so you can get a hold of one of these if you fancy it. But yeah, for now, thank you very much for watching. Check out vector3d.co.uk for cool things like this, which is now on pre-order. So if you're going to do some assembly with threaded inserts, grab yourself one of these bad boys to make the process a little bit easier, a little bit faster, a little bit more consistent, and a lot more fun. Because it does this. So I shall see you all next time. So go and print a thing. Go and enjoy some printing. Happy printing, happy calibrating. There's a light switch on the right side. Oh my goodness! Good spot. I didn't see that. So you can turn the light off. Fantastic. Anyway, goodbye. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.